This video's gonna contain spoilers from the off, so I'm warning you now. The Yellowjackets Season 3 finale has just been released, and I feel like it took me on a whirlwind of a ride of emotions. It was heartbreaking with the pit girl finally being revealed to be Mari. It was infuriating in watching Shauna rise to the top and have her way in becoming Antler Queen. But it was also satisfying and exciting in seeing the group going against Shauna, with Natalie ascending to the peak of a mountain and making contact with the outside world, with an ending that showed us that there's actually hope for the group when the new season arrives. But in the present day, it seems like that very division that we've seen at the heart of the Wilderness timeline will be entering the present day too. This show still has a lot of story to tell, which is good. So with that, let's dive into the episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is Yellowjackets Season 3 Episode 10, Ending Explained. The ending explained. When it came to the ending of the episode, it was probably the most hopeful scene that we've ever had in the entirety of the show. Not only because it seemed like Nat had made contact with people from the outside due to getting the transponder and actually getting a response from a rescue team, but also because we saw Shauna being played by Misty, Hannah, and Van, and the very power that she thought she exhibited over everybody wasn't as great or fierce as what she thought, showing that her power might well be short-lived in the next season of the show, because it might not take long until they get rescued. Nat's reaction to seeing Misty with the transponder was just perfect. Yelling, shouting, and she even slapped her, which showed just how angry she was, because she knew that Misty had been keeping it a secret and was a main reason as to why they hadn't been able to get any help for the entire time that they'd been there. However, Lottie and Shauna demanding that the Wilderness wanted bloodshed from a hunt was the very thing that allowed Nat to slip away, take the transponder and the extra piece, and hike to the top of a mountain with the hopes of getting a good signal, and that's exactly what we saw happen. Shauna's toxic persona was something that came out post the hunt as well, in the sense that she wanted to almost torment Natalie by making her carve up Mari, and she also threatened her by saying that if she had anything to do with the spikes in the pit, then she'd make her pay for it. But all that time, it was actually Hannah in disguise. Shauna's screaming face at the end was something that just made me feel happy. Whilst she's physically afraid of Ty, as we saw in the confrontation whilst on the hunt, Shauna knows that her biggest threat to her losing her power and her downfall is Nat. So with her not being there, the fear that was in her spoke 1,000 words. Shauna's rise to being the Antler Queen in this episode is something that also suited her present day timeline as well. She'd pretty much lost everything that she'd cared about in her adult life due to Jeff and Callie leaving her on her own. And with her ripping up the letter that Melissa left in the envelope, which basically spoke about being able to move on and trying to learn to forgive yourself, it felt symbolic of Shauna not wanting to do that, and her wanting to channel that mindset that she had when she was in the wilderness. She even wrote a note herself saying that she had so much fun whilst she was out in the wilderness, and that she let that feeling slip away from her, and now she wants to take it back. My prediction is that if we all think we hated Shauna in this season of the show, wow, I feel like it's going to be even worse in the next season. Shauna doesn't have anybody in her corner anymore in the present day timeline. Misty and Ty have turned their back on her, and Jeff and Callie have as well, so she's quite literally on her own. With regards to the Wilderness timeline, the ceremony of Shauna wearing the crown and becoming queen all meant nothing, because many of the people that were participating in the feast didn't care for her and were on the side of Nat. So I'm hoping that the group will have more of a voice in the next season of the show, and they'll actually stand up to Shauna. Kind of like how Melissa did, but she showed that she wasn't evil like Shauna as she didn't kill her. The only thing that makes me think that they're still going to be in the wilderness for a little while is that we know that Hannah gets killed out there. And right now, she cemented herself on the side of the people that want to escape. So I'm genuinely intrigued to see how the group is going to turn on her so much. With Misty giving us a sinister smile in the Wilderness timeline, showing that she's gone against Shauna, and us seeing in the present day timeline that she's now on the side of Ty, it seems like her journey is going to be mirrored on both sides. Who killed Lottie? Well, we finally found out who killed Lottie and why it happened. If I'm being honest, I am a little bit underwhelmed with it. Considering how much of a main player Lottie is in the Wilderness timeline, I do feel like her death deserved a little bit more. She didn't even get a scene where she got to sit on the plane just like everybody else did when they died. Callie was revealed to be the murderer of Lottie, and it turned out that it was her DNA that was under her fingernails, and the photo that Misty was shocked at was a photo of Callie with the heart necklace on. When Lottie left Shauna's, she took the tape with her, and Callie went to retrieve it. But when she was there, Lottie started calling her the child of the wilderness and how she was just like her mother, but maybe even worse than what she was, and that's why Shauna couldn't love her because she was jealous of her. Callie had come to despise her mother over the course of this season, so comparing her to her mother was probably one of the worst things that she could have said to her, as when she did, Callie pushed her and she fell down the stairs. Part of me feels like Lottie almost knew that she was going to die that day, and that's why she wanted to. When she had a conversation with her younger self, she said, "I'm ready. My will is your will." Plus, she also said, "Do you remember what we promised?" So I think she knew that her time had come to an end. Personally, I think Lottie was written out of the show just a bit too early for my liking. I think maybe the writers felt like there was nowhere else for the character to go, and I can kind of see that due to the mindset that she had, but it just felt a bit underwhelming. The Pit Girl was revealed. When Mari started off in her outfit after getting the Queen of Hearts, I was like, okay, maybe she won't be the Pit Girl. But then as the hunt went on and she started taking off layers, it became inevitable, and I was just devastated. Mari was a character that I came to like more and more during this season of the show, and with the introduction of Hannah, I thought it might have actually been her. But alas, it wasn't. Van and Ty tried to rig the cards so Hannah would be the person that was hunted, but Shauna intervened after realizing that something was up and that it was probably going to be Hannah that was selected, and she took a card early, which meant that Mari was the person that received the Queen of Hearts. Shauna's face was something that was just so infuriating. She was literally just about to kill somebody that was on her team and she couldn't be happier. However, with Mari saying, "You deserve all the bad things that are going to happen to you," those very words started coming true in the adult timeline, and maybe, just maybe, beyond the grave, Mari is laughing at the evil queen. As Mari was running away and hiding, she bumped into Lottie, and Lottie told her how she'd been there before and that she should recognize where she was. However, under the snow, it was something that wasn't recognizable for Mari, and she ultimately fell into the pit that was only a few feet away, just like how she fell into it during the early part of the season. Lottie was almost trying to give her some kind of advice, and whilst cryptic, if she had tried to decipher it, then she might have ended up surviving. I also just want to call out how heartbreaking it was seeing Jen doing what she did. Leading Ty away to buy Mari some time because she didn't want her to die was the final thing she could do for her good friend, and it was just so sad to see. The scene where Mari was being dragged through the snow was also such a sinister moment. It just showed that there was genuinely no humanity within this group, and they'd kill anything or anybody if they were guided by the wilderness. One thing from this hunt that's also worth mentioning is Travis. Throughout this season, he's kind of been on the backseat, and as the episodes have gone on, we've seen him believing less and less about the force of the wilderness and how he thinks it's all just a lie. With him not being in the right headspace, it really showed the direction that his life took when he got out of the wilderness and how he was so traumatized by everything that happened. He seems to be the most impacted when compared to all of the other people that are in the wilderness, and it feels like that's what happened on the outside. So it was sad to see in this episode because he's one of the people that really does want to get out. Ty's hunger for revenge. Following Van being killed, we saw that Ty's mindset changed completely, almost like Shauna's to a certain degree. Shauna obviously mentioned how she wants to remember the fun that she had when she was out there. And Ty, after spending her adult life trying to forget everything that happened in the wilderness, she's now going to look to remember it. She blames Shauna for Van's death because it was Shauna that dragged the lot of them back into all of this, even choosing to remember how Shauna was in the wilderness timeline and that she was the person that was responsible for a lot of the sinister things that they did and how she almost relished in the excitement of it. So Ty looks set to get revenge on Shauna for the death of Van, and almost for making them do everything that happened in the wilderness. We even saw that Misty was on the side of Ty and that she was fully against Shauna now. Shauna had her opportunity with Misty and she took her for granted. So with Ty looking for an ally, we're gonna see Misty being exactly that. With Ty feeling like Shauna is the one to blame for a lot of what happened, she doesn't want Shauna to get her happily ever after and to be the last one that ends up surviving. What was interesting in this episode was that in the wilderness timeline, Ty stood up to Shauna, and Shauna backed down. We haven't really seen that with the character before, and now with Ty going after Shauna, the one person that she's ever backed down to, it's a really interesting dynamic that's on the horizon. My review of the episode. I thought this was a really good finale to the season. I actually can't believe how the season flipped. What started as one that was a tad boring ultimately ended up giving us episodes that were better than what we got in season 2, so I'm impressed. I just hope the quality is present throughout the entirety of it next time. When it comes to the performances in this season, they've all been faultless, but I have to say that Sophie Thatcher as Nat and Sophie Nélisse as Shauna absolutely delivered. I haven't been frustrated and disliked a character in a TV series like Shauna in such a long time, so the strength of her performance is really up there. Plus, when it comes to Nat, we got to see the good in her, and the fact that she's the polar opposite to Shauna, it just allowed the emotional connection to be strong. So with the both of them being on complete other sides of the fence, it allowed the extreme differences to shine. One touch that I thought was so haunting in this episode was the little finger twitch that Mari had when she was in the pit. It showed that she was still alive whilst she was impaled, and it must have been horrific. Considering this scene was the very first thing we saw when the show opened, they did a great job in allowing it to live up to the hype, so I'm impressed. I like the fact that, unlike season 2, where the show finished with no hope for the group whatsoever, this one had hope for the first time. It really does put the dynamic for season 4 in a completely different way, and in a position that it's never been in before, so I can't wait to see what happens. Before I finish the video, I just want to say a massive thanks for watching these breakdowns throughout season 3. It's been a great season of the show, and we got to see it improve together, which is great. The theories have been fun to see in the comments as well, and you've been great viewing partners. So, there you have it, Yellowjackets Season 3 Episode 10, Ending Explained. If you want to see every episode of Yellowjackets Season 3 being broken down, then click on the card in the top corner, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What did you think of the finale? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.